having the highest number of aspirants, this perhaps they could have been the one maybe to have started this process much earlier, because like today it has become chaotic and it was only happening in 21 counties, half of the other counties and their strongholds. So I think for Jubilee, them deciding that they would pull it in one day, it was a case of maybe tactical error, or if for lack of a better word.
And Hayamba reporting from Bomet County. All right, so from Bomet County, we want to cross over to Nyeri, and we have also been following up on the events taking place there. And joining us right now is Mutahi Kagwe, who's the Nyeri senator and also the governor aspirant in the same county. Thank you very much, Senator, for joining us here on the show tonight. So first of all, we'd like to hear your reaction to this nullification of the Jubilee primaries today.
Thank you very much indeed. First and foremost, I think that is the only option that the party had. I think that continuing on with an exercise that had so many issues and so many problems would have been an exercise in futility. I think that there's a silver lining in everything. And I think that what happened is that we were overwhelmed, or the party was overwhelmed by the love that Kenyans have for Jubilee. And the fact that the main issue was the fact that there was an underestimation of the turnout that would be there in Nyeri and other areas. And I can tell you, having visited a lot of polling stations, that the turnout was overwhelming. It was almost 100%. That tells you that people like the party, first and foremost, they have accepted and bought the party. And secondly, it also tells you that people are determined to exercise their democratic right in choosing their candidates. So I think that going forward, we have lessons that we have learned. And going forward, I think you'll be readier to carry out these nominations and primary elections than we had this time around. So for me, it is, in a sense, disappointing because the reports that I'm getting from various parts of the county were that I was winning overwhelmingly. In most parts of the most counties, I was ahead in the polls. And that can be easily checked with, the counting that had been done. But having said that, I had rather that we repeated and had a very clean election where everybody got their right to vote exercised, rather than announce an election that did not have that particular democratic principle in place.
Mentioned that you are well on your way to clinch the ticket, but we also understand that there are reports that in Mukurweini there were already ballot papers that were marked with your name before the whole process began. Can you comment about this?
I heard that rumor. As far as I'm concerned, there was President Kibaki once famously said that even rigging requires some kind of intelligence. And the fact that these ballot papers were all over the place and being spread in the streets, people would see them in the streets, tells you very clearly that this is an attempt to spoil my name. It is an attempt to show as though I was interested in rigging. I had no interest in rigging. I don't need to rig. I was winning anyway. So this is a fabrication, and it's very clear. I mean, nobody can do that kind of nonsensical exercise. I mean, it was so obvious that somebody is planting these papers, in order for the citizens and perhaps the party to believe that I was trying to rig the election. So for me, it's a nonsensical exercise. I dismissed it, and whoever was doing it should have been arrested in the first place. And I have been in this game for a long time. I have both won and lost elections, but rigging is not part of my process.
Now, The Secretary General, to be specific, was quite confident a few days ago that this process is basically going to be an example to other parties on how to do it right. Moving forward, what is the one thing that you want your party to do once we have a confirmation of when this primaries will be repeated?
Okay, first and foremost, there has to be sufficient ballot papers in every polling station. That is number one. Number two, those polling papers must be in the polling stations early enough, because people woke up as early as 5 a.m. in the morning to go and vote. So what happened is that when the papers came late, a lot of people, by 10 o'clock, people left and went on to do their businesses. So I think that A, we have to get enough papers. B, we need to get the papers in the polling stations on time. And C, we need clarity in terms of what registers we are using. We had issues in some areas that were saying that they are using Jubilee registered voters. In some other areas, they were using the 2013 IEBC figures. And even in some areas, they were using more updated registers. So I think that A, as I said, those are three issues. Number one, let us get clear what register are we using. If we are using the IEBC register, we should use the latest IEBC register, because it allows a lot of people, especially younger people, to vote. Number two is that we must get those ballot papers on time. And number three is that we must have enough of them. Beyond that is a question of the system and the efficiency with which these elections are carried out. I think that when you entered the polling station, it was quite clear that there was a good system in place. But the problem was between headquarters and the polling station. Then the other issue, the fifth issue that arose, is that in some cases, for example, I can give you an example. In Diaini polling station in Mukurweini constituency, we ran out of the gubernatorial ballot papers too early. In other words, there was no coherence between the papers for MCAs, the papers for governors. Sometimes we had more papers for governors, sometimes more papers for MCAs. And in addition to that, there were some deliveries of ballot papers to wrong stations. So I think let's be honest, as the Secretary General was. We had a chaotic situation here. And I think that going forward, we need to be a lot more efficient than we were. Indeed, we had a situation like Magana Ward, where the ballot papers for the MCAs were not there. And of course, what happened is that people said if one section of the papers are not there, we will all not vote. Then we had a funny situation in Mukurweini TSC Hall, where the rubber stamp, just the rubber stamp, to create authenticity to the ballot paper was not there. A simple rubber stamp stopped an entire voting process taking place at the TSC Hall in Mukurweini constituency. So I think we had issues. We had quite a number of issues. And I think that going forward, not just for